if you're watching this, you're probably looking for some fall book recommendations, and lucky for you, I'm literally spilling with some fall book recs. I got cozy books, I got fantasy, we got romance, we got thriller, we've got unsettling. I've got a lot of different options for you if you are stuck on what to read this fall. So grab a cup of coffee, pumpkin spice, you'll get extra points. Grab your cats. I got my cats here. You can only see their butts. But get cozy and get a pen and paper out. Or just look in the description if you forget, because it'll be there. Starting off with the coziest looking fall books, we have the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore and the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, both by Laurie Gilmore. They're part of the Dream Harbor series. And listen, these really blew up on TikTok last year because they're very aesthetic. They're very fall aesthetic. Laurie Gilmore is a pen name, and they're very Gilmore Girls inspired, so you see the connection there. And they really blew up purely because of how they looked, and then people were really disappointed with them. And here's what I will say. If you go in expecting something transformative and crazy and like super deep and out of this world, you're not gonna get it here. If you're looking for small town spicy romance, you're gonna get it here. These are what I call vibe books. These are you're just here for the vibe. And I love to intersperse these between heavier books that I'm reading because I read a lot of heavy books. So if you're looking for something light, fluffy, turn your brain off, romance, spice, like these are everything I could ever want. It's like if you wanted Gilmore Girls but spicier. So I highly recommend, just don't go in expecting something groundbreaking and you won't be disappointed. These are just pure vibes and I'm 100% here for it. I'm always gonna recommend Allie Hazelwood any time, day, place. Catch me recommending Allie Hazelwood because I'm sorry, she's the best to have ever done it. Anything that she reads, I devour. And I love Bride because it is vampire and werewolf arranged mafia marriage. This is like perfect fall vibes. If you were a fan of Twilight, like your girl was, obsessed, this is where the vampire and the werewolf get together, but it's an arranged marriage. There's mafia. There's like the vampires and the werewolves are not at war, but they don't get along, and so this arranged marriage between our two main characters is going to solve them. It is everything I could ever want. The premise sounds so silly, but it is so captivating. I don't know how Allie Hazelwood does it, but her writing is just so addicting and well done. If you like, again, turn your brain off, have some fun. I love it so much. Now for fantasy, because I've got a stack, because I think fantasy, I'm a fantasy girl through and through. I'll read fantasy any time of the year, but I feel like it just hits different in the fall and winter time, especially in the fall. So here are some recommendations for you that you've probably heard of, but hopefully you haven't heard of all of these. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This is a duology, so there's only 2 books. You can get through them fast. How to explain this book? Honestly, the vibes are immaculate. There's so much substance, don't get me wrong, but the vibes are immaculate. It's like a dark, moody town that's been taken over by this fog that's never lifting. Our main character, Elspeth, has this little demon monster that lives in her head that she can communicate with, and you never really know what his motive is. Is he like her friend? Is he like a father figure? Is he her enemy? You never really know, and I just love that it keeps you guessing. I also love a magic system that is so complex I have to take notes. Maybe I'm dumb, but I loved that I was confused at some points. I was like, this is so well thought out. This is so complex. This is so well done. I'm just, at this point, I'm just like a very die-hard Rachel Gillig fan. This duology is pure perfection. Our main character, Elspeth, has to go on a mission with some of the king's nephew, I believe, and the king is kind of like, yay, oppression, and everyone else is like, boo, oppression, let's lift this fog, let's solve our problems. So Elspeth goes on a mission with the nephew and some other people under the king's nose to kind of figure out what's going on, help solve issues, solve the problem of the fog and kind of the state that the town has been in for so long. So, like, I just can't even... I'm terrible at recommending books because I'm like, it's just so good, you have to read it. But it truly is so good, you have to read it. It's so well done. Slow burn romance. The magic system is so complex. The story is so well done, and just, again, the moody setting is really perfect for fall. The Legendborn series by Tracy Deonn. Book 3 just came out this year. There will be more, so you have some time. This reminds me very much of the Mortal Instruments, just in the fact that we have a girl who witnesses kind of this demon killing that nobody else around her sees. Everything else about this is wholly original, but those two, it just reminded me of Mortal Instruments, and I love Mortal Instruments. But Tracy Deonn adds so much layers to this. Our main character Bree goes to, it's like a college course thing for high school students. So she is on a college campus, but she is a high school student. This is happening like right after her mom's death. Something is fishy there. She's not sure what it is. So when she ends up witnessing this group of students killing this demon in front of her, and nobody else around her is able to see this but her, she's like, there might be a connection here. And so she kind of infiltrates this group to get to the bottom of her mom's death. The author being a black woman, the main character being a black woman, there is so much to do with the complexity of race and history there that was just so well done. I don't know if anybody has seen Sinners here. I love Sinners so much, but they talk about the magic root, which is very heavily involved in this, and it's just so well done and so interesting, and I cannot recommend this book enough. It is YA, and the only reason I mention that is because I'm pushing 30, and so I feel like I'm phasing out of a lot of YA, just not because it's not well done, not because the story isn't intriguing, but just because I'm not that target demographic anymore. But this is so well done and complex and intriguing the whole way through that I don't feel like I'm reading beneath my reading level, if that makes sense. So hats off to Tracy Deonn, because I'm a huge fan. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab has done it again. Vampires spanning, I don't even know, decades, if not like hundreds of years. Probably not hundreds, but 100. Let's see. Well, no, hundreds. Starts in 1532, ends in 2019, and it follows 3 women who are entwined through this vampirism that has plagued. There's so much commentary on what it means to be hungry and what it means to be sated. There's obviously, starting in the 1500s, like, this to me is also a story about women gaining power after having been obviously barely human for so long, through the power of vampirism and having kind of the ability to stand up for yourself and all of that stuff. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And I am just a sucker for vampires in general. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I am working through everything Ava Reid has ever written because everything she writes is so good. So far, there are 2 books in this series out. The second one just came out this year, so I recommend both of them. But A Study in Drowning, again, I just love the fantasy element. Like, I feel like fantasy can span so much, where it's kind of like you have the Lord of the Rings, where it's like battles and there's creatures, there's orcs, there's, I don't know, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. And then there's like magic lore, like fairies and magic spells. So I feel like this leans more towards that, and it is definitely a dark academia setting. I have the most stunning edition. The spine, or the pages, are bookshelves, and it's just beautiful. My main character Effie is studying at the architect college because women are not allowed into the literature college. They're not allowed to I wouldn't say they're not allowed to write, because they can read and write, but just not professionally. And so Effie really wants to go to the literature college. She has this author that she's been obsessed with her entire life. A very meaningful book of his has been her favorite. She's got this very worn down copy. And so when the opportunity arises for one of the architect students to go to that author's house to kind of like fix it up, or draw plans to fix it up, she gets selected and she goes. The house is like out in the outskirts of wherever, and it's kind of like falling into the swamp. It's very wet land. There is definitely a take on climate change there, which I love. So she ends up at that house, and there also happens to be a student from the literature college, a handsome young man, if you will, who is studying the author's work, and there's something like really fishy going on there. This author, the book he wrote was a fairy tale, so there's kind of like, was this actually fiction or not? They team up together to figure some stuff out. They fall in love along the way. It's just, I just love it so much. I love it so much, and I think you will too. That's why I'm recommending it. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries. So far there are 3 books. I hope there are more, but I think the 3rd book kind of wraps up nicely. If there's no more, then I think it is a perfect trilogy. I have said this time and time again. Anytime I talk about this book, I say this, but if I was a book character, I would be Emily Wilde. This is, to me, very heavily inspired by, like, the Grimm brothers fairy tales, which I grew up on. It's like fairies that steal your toes in the night, and fairies that kidnap children, and our main character, Emily, is a scholar who goes to different places. I think in this one, she goes to kind of like this really Arctic cold island where she is just encyclopediaing fairies. So she's finding fairies, and she is encyclopediaing them for her encyclopedia. I don't know how else to say that. Now it's not sounding like a word. And she gets tangled up in some fairy nonsense along the way, and it is just immaculate. It does lean, it's like, I would describe it as cozy fantasy, but also the stakes are pretty high. So do with that what you will. The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. Now this is a cozy fantasy. And that's not to say that stuff doesn't happen. Stuff definitely happens. Obviously the plot is propelled and there are stakes, but this is about, well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of nuance and takes to this, but our main character, whose name escapes me, Keela, she has worked in a library on this mainland where oppression is growing and books are being kind of, is it banned? Is it, well, magic is outlawed. And so there's a lot of political unrest on the mainland, and so she, when her library is set on fire, she manages to escape with a number of books and a sentient plant, which is really cool. He can talk. They can talk, sorry, I don't think they have a gender. And they go back to a little island on a boat with all these books where she actually grew up, and so her parents' house is still standing. She fixes it up and turns it into a jam shop. Meanwhile, she's kind of like, she's doing magic under the counter to kind of help the island. And it's, you know, so there's a looming threat of like officials coming and being like, hey, magic is not allowed. But really at its core, it's a girl who is running a jam shop on an island and falling in love. And it is my favorite thing. Book of Night by Holly Black. Holly Black, who did the Spiderwick Chronicles, who did the Cruel Prince series, which I love. This is her first adult novel, or her first adult fantasy novel. And I'm going to have trouble explaining this. Magicians manipulate shadows to peer into locked rooms, strangle people in their beds, or worse. Gloamists guard their secrets greedily, creating an underground economy of grimoires. And to rob their fellow magicians, they'll need Charlie Hall. This book goes a place I didn't expect. I really loved the ending. I thought it was really unexpected, and I love that for Holly Black, and I love that for me. Then we have Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Canas. I love this book, but I love vampires, so I'm here for it. This is different than any vampire book I've ever read before. The vampires are very different, and I love that. I love it. They were all the more scary and unsettling than just like kind of like a human vampire. Let me explain. Nina and Nestor are friends as children. They get separated after this event in where Nestor believes that Nina is dead and it's his fault, so he runs away. Meanwhile, she's not dead, and so she just thinks her best friend abandoned her. They meet up years later. There's kind of like the gringos are invading Mexico and kind of taking over, and so there's a little bit of a war or a battle going on. They kind of get separated from a lot of people, and so they're out together after all these years apart, and they're dealing with the vampires. It is very well done. Love this book very much. Like I said, I just didn't expect the vampires to be the way that they were, and it was Weyward by Emilia Hart. Oh, I love this book. Again, this is about 3 women in the same bloodline in 1619, 1942, and 2019. There is some, I don't want to call them all witches, but there is some maybe witchcraft involved, but really at its core, this is the story of resilience of women through generations dealing with what is in front of them at that time. The oldest one in 1619 is accused of being a witch in 1942. Obviously trapped into the societal norm, she wants to be educated, but she is a woman. And then in 2019, we have our character fleeing a abusive marriage, and just how all of these women of the same bloodline rise against what is really men, rise against men and the challenges in front of them, the resilience of women, how they persevere, and really just still that tie to nature and to themselves, that connectivity that I just love so much. It is so beautiful, well done, highly recommend. All right, last little stack of eerie, unsettling books that I really think that you should read. Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison is a story about a woman who goes back to her hometown to help her pregnant sister. While she is there, she gets bitten by a wolf and slowly starts turning into a werewolf. And so she has to deal with this while dealing with her family, while dealing with falling in love. There's a lot to be said about what the werewolf represents. I think it is very well done. It's part literary fiction, part horror, and it is just 100% perfection. Motherthing by Annalise Hogarth is not at all what I expected it to be. This is the story about a woman and her husband who move in with his mother, so her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law offs herself. Then her ghost comes back and haunts them, and the way that this woman has to like deal with this ghost in order to protect her family is so insane. It is so good and makes me very thankful for my mother-in-law, but like wherever you think this is gonna go, you have no idea. You have no idea. You better buckle up because it is so good. It is unsettling. I don't know if I would call it horror, but also I'm a terrible judge at genres, honestly. Severance by Ling M has nothing to do with the Apple TV show. Every time I talk about this book, everyone's like, oh, I didn't know the show was based on a book. It's not. The word severance exists outside of that show. Anyway, I love that show. I hate having to explain that every time. This book is so good. This is a story about Candace who goes through the beginning of an apocalypse and she tries to hold on to her office job as long as possible. Was the most unsettling take on zombies I've ever heard or read about. It was nothing else describes this book other than eerie and unsettling. This woman is unfortunately like all alone in the aftermath of the apocalypse, and she has to figure out how to survive and kind of go through that thing. Her parents were immigrants, and so there's a lot of messaging about being severed from your past self, your past life. So in the country you were, in the country you are in now, before the apocalypse, after the apocalypse, it's just so good. I wish I could read it again for the first time. Just like kind of watching it unfold was such an experience that I love so much. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterica. I will say this is not for everybody. This is not for everybody. This I would describe as straight up horror. And I don't normally do horror, but I can do it in a literary fiction sense, where it's not just gory for the sake of being gory, but there is definitely something being said here. It is a short book. It is just over 200 pages. This is very, very gory. So maybe trigger warning. I'm not going to go into detail, but this book is about a future in where animals can no longer be bred for food. They're pretty much like not extinct, but like people are afraid of birds in the air because all of the animals carry diseases. And so humanity has decided to start breeding humans for meat consumption. It does get very, very graphic in its descriptions of that process and what that is like. Again, it's trying to say something. There's just a lot to take from this, and that's why I love it so much. But it is graphic, so be warned. But if you're looking for something really chilly and unsettling this fall, Tender is the Flesh. Yeah. Bunny by Mona Awad. The sequel is also coming out. I think the same day as the Book of Night sequel. So I'm gonna be going to the mall. I'm gonna be getting these books. This is a story about a girl in college who kind of gets swept up into this group of girls who are very weird. They're just very cutesy, and they call everybody Bunny. They kind of remind me of, if you've ever seen the show Scream Queens with Emma Roberts, and I think Leah Michele was in it for a while. Ariana Grande was in it. I don't know. I didn't watch the whole series, but very much like sorority sister girly, like ha ha ha, and they're like, I love you, Bunny. We love you, Bunny, and they call everybody Bunny. Turns out it's a cult, and so for me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm vibing. This is a cult. And when you reach the halfway mark, something happens, and I'm like, oh, I thought this book was one thing, it's another thing. And I love that. I love it. It kept me on my toes. Loved it so much. It's not gory and graphic or anything like that, but it is definitely unsettling. And if you're looking for a little bit of an eerie cult vibe, definitely recommend. Lastly, a book I will recommend until the day that I die, and I can only describe it as eerie and unsettling, like a few of these other books, but it is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jaqueline Harpman. This is a story about a girl and 39 women who live underground in a bunker. They have no idea why they're there, how they got there, or what the purpose is of any of it. This is not a spoiler. It mentions this on the back of the book, but they manage to escape, and it is this group of women just navigating this absolutely changed world that none of them could have ever expected. It is so good. Like, just eerie, unsettling. Wherever you think this is going to go, you have no idea. This is definitely literary fiction. If you're looking for action or something like that, you're not going to get it here. But if you're looking for a book that's going to leave you staring at the wall afterwards, it's going to be this one. That is it for my fall book recommendations. I hope you got some inspo, and I hope you have a really happy reading season. Now is the time to get cozy, snuggle up, and read some books. It is pouring rain outside, so I'm going to do just that right now. Thank you guys for watching. If you want some more book recommendations, you can click here. If you want a cozy reading vlog, you can click over here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!